Greetings, everyone. Thobeka Dlamini here. Welcome. I do welcome you to this YouTube channel. Thank you so much for tuning in on this particular day. We have a really exciting few minutes ahead of us. Okay, please do subscribe. Please do share this broadcast with friends and family. We are about families and marriages. We want to build. We want to uplift. We want to just edify everybody who is married, everybody who is got a family to lead, family to run. This is the channel to tune into, and I hope that this content today will really uplift you as we tackle particular issues within the family structure. So do please subscribe and do share, and I'm looking forward to hearing from you, and also just to hear more of the type of content that you would like, and so that we can make sure that we cater for your needs. So today we are touching on a very, very interesting topic. Remember, we do believe that marriage is possible. We don't believe that people should endure in marriage, but that marriage is possible, and people should be happy and people should be fulfilled within the marriages, despite the challenges, despite the different seasons in life. People should make most of the institution that God has provided for us, which is the institution of marriage. And I always say that marriage is a way of family. I believe is where greatness is incubated, and with so much negativity going around in the family structure, and just the value of marriage and the value of family, we will continue to lift up the flag of families and say marriage is possible, healthy families are possible. It's a matter of us being available to the knowledge that is given to us and being receptive, and actually going out to gain understanding of what the institution is about. And so as a foundation, I do want to quote a scripture in the book of Proverbs, chapter 4, verses 7, which says, "Wisdom is the principal thing, therefore get wisdom, but in all you're getting, get understanding." And today I want to talk about the issue of understanding within marriage. I want to dive into the issue of understanding within marriage. And understanding means that you have a deeper insight as to why things happen, why things are the way they are. And I do believe that understanding has to do with a lot of logical engagement, just an engagement of your mind, of your mental capacity. But also I do believe that understanding is God-given. I do believe that God can give us insight on our spouses, insight on our marriages, to help us run this institution effectively, and be fruitful in it and be successful in it. And so this is how I want to explain. There are three different pillars that I believe hold up a marriage together, and one of them is knowledge. Knowledge being the first one, the second one being understanding, and the third one being wisdom. And I believe that these three pillars can help a marriage survive a lot of storms, survive a lot of strange seasons, when people are intentional about getting knowledge and knowing that this is marriage, and these are the guidelines of marriage, and this is how marriage should be conducted. And then I always say, I want to demonstrate to you, knowledge says that this is a bottle of water, but knowing that it is a bottle of water does not mean that you have an understanding of the process that this bottle of water had to go through to reach the shelf. So you have you have a knowledge that this is water. You need an understanding as to the content of this water. That is now a deeper insight. What was the purification process? Okay, this is prepared still water. Reverse osmosis and ozonation were used to purify. So it has gone through a process to be pure. But wisdom says, this is not cleaning water, this is drinking water. You are now applying the knowledge and the understanding. You are now applying that in the context in which it is needed. Meaning wisdom is now the ability to apply the knowledge and the understanding that you have of this product. I hope that I have in some way broken it down for you so that you can understand it. So today I want us to look at the role of understanding within a marriage. We are going to touch on wisdom in the upcoming videos, but I want us to look at the issue of understanding. So in all your getting, do get understanding. It's very, very important. And so I'm going to touch, there are more areas of understanding that I would like to touch on, but today allow me to touch on 4 of them. There are 4 areas of understanding that I believe that if each couple was intentional in gaining understanding on these 4 areas, it will actually help their marriage in a lot of ways. It will help maneuver the challenges of their marriage in a lot. And the first area of understanding is that different parental backgrounds or different backgrounds where people grew up does result in different behavioral patterns. So in other words, the environment in which a person grew up does in a way shape the way they process things, the way they deal with things, the way they interact with other people. And so in psychology, there's what you call modeling, meaning what a child sees an adult do in the early stages of their life really does stick in the mind of a child, and that's how a child begins to process things, and their mental development and their emotional development has a lot to do with their environment. And so this is one area of understanding that we really need to dig deep into. If you are going to settle down with somebody and get married to somebody, you need to go in and be aware that they were not raised up the same way that you were raised up. Some people are from single-headed households. Some people are from households where both parents were together. Some people are from households where both parents were together, but it was not a loving relationship. So there are parts of them that are sort of oblivious, maybe to intimacy or affection because of the environment that they grew up in. So one of the areas of understanding, this is where couples clash a lot, is to understand that your spouse was not raised the same way that you were raised. And now it is the responsibility of both of you as a couple to say, these are some of the results that are coming from my background. I'm seeing dysfunctional behavior like this one and that one, which results from the way that I was raised. And now be open to have that conversation, because what really kills marriages is that we are not prepared to have the conversation to say, whatever you adopted as behavior from a background does not necessarily mean it's right or relevant behavior. Just because your father taught it to you, just because your mother taught it to you, does not mean it's relevant behavior or it's healthy behavior. So it's very important for couples to have those conversations. You're not fighting, but you are looking into your backgrounds and saying, what have I adopted from my background that is really unhealthy for my marriage? What have I adopted from the way that I was raised that is not working for the institution of marriage? And so the fight within the marriage becomes about who is right and who's wrong, and who's doing the things right and who's not doing the things according to the way the other one wants things to be done. So the main thing in marriage is to really come together and say, I'm seeing some dysfunction, I'm seeing some unhealthy habits, and I'm going to work on them so that my kids will not adopt the same patterns as myself. And so it's very important to have this level of understanding. Don't clash with your spouse without having a conversation and sitting down to say that I see that whenever we are supposed to confront issues, you always avoiding confrontation. What is the reason for that? And you'll hear maybe your spouse saying, I was raised in a family where we didn't confront issues. We just let issues slide. And so now you become a team in helping each other and learn all the habits that you have inherited from your backgrounds that are not working for your union. So really, I really do believe that these are conversations that you can have to keep your marriage healthy, to keep your marriage alive without attacking each other and really battering on each other as though the other person is dysfunctional more than the other. We all have things that we need to change from our backgrounds that in order to make our marriages better. And so the second area of understanding is that males and females are different in the way they process their emotions, in the way they process things overall, And we can't have this conversation, enough. It's an important conversation to have because females are trying to change the males to be like them, and the males are trying to change the females to be like them, and we are completely different. We are wired differently. We process emotions differently. And be a student really of how females relate to things. And I heard something very interesting recently where a man was just breaking down something so simple yet so profound. He was saying when Adam woke up from his sleep, he saw Eve, and then he said, this is the bone of his bones and the flesh of his flesh. In other words, the moment he woke up, he saw, and seeing is important for men. And when Eve, was in the picture, what he heard at that time, bone of my bones, flesh of my flesh, that is something that was gluing her to Adam to say, I might not have seen you first, but now I've heard that I'm the flesh of your flesh and the bone of your bones. I'm just giving an example. And I thought that was so profound because a lot of couples are missing just that one principle, that men are more visual, women are more auditory. And as a man, you need to feed the woman through talking to them and affirming them and letting them know they are beautiful and cultivating her potential. And this is where a lot of marriages have died. And as for men, they are visually stimulated, and even though you are not extravagant, you are not a person who just likes to go all out with things, but visual does stimulate to the female, to the male species. And so now understanding the differences between how a male processes things and how a female processes things will allow you to align yourself when it comes to your marriage. Meaning, as a man, you will know women need more affirmation than you looking good, because looking good might not stimulate them as much as what you have to say to them. And the other way around, men really are not into so much what you say to them. Yes, they do want to be acknowledged, they do want to be uplifted, but are more visual, and it does matter to them how they see things, especially as the years of marriage progress. It's important to know that your man will always be visual, just like the first day that he pursued you or he wanted to be with you. So we do put effort in those areas as women, though we are not all the same in terms of style, but we do put effort in those areas. And so also, if I may highlight before I move to point number 3, is that when women are emotional, they want to be listened to and heard. And most of the time when males are emotional, they want to go into a cocoon because they are more logical in their approach. They want to go into a cocoon to understand and find solutions for their problems. And women are the opposite. When they have a problem, they want to cry about it first, and they want to say how intense the problem is and how bad it is before they can actually get out and say what is the solution. So it's very important to understand those differences so that you can cater for each other's needs, so that when a man is going through something, you as a woman can be able to give him the space to collect his thoughts and think logically about something and try and find his own solutions within his own head before he invites you in to say, I need your help, or what would you advise? So we normally as women want to advise before we are even given the platform to advise, and that's why things backfire. Because now men feel, no, I don't need you to tell me what to do. I know what to do. I'm trying to figure it out. So for women, we need to understand those differences to say when a man is emotional or has a problem, he wants to gather his thoughts first before he can invite you in. And for the female, males want to offer solutions, or sometimes when you cry he walks out on you, because yeah, especially with the African males, they are not used to this thing of being affectionate and comforting your wife through something. And these are things we have to learn, because women need that affirmation and that comfort whilst they are dealing with the problem emotionally before they can get to solutions. So I was just giving 2 examples under the different ways in which women and men process things and emotions. And so point number 3, you need to have an understanding of how your spouse responds to pressure, to pain, to frustration. I did highlight from point number 1 that we were all raised differently. We confront problems, we react differently, we react under pressure differently. When we are in pain, we also react differently. So it's very important for everybody who is married to know, how does your spouse react under certain types of strain, and this is a process. I'm not saying we're going to get it overnight, but it may take you years to figure out how your spouse reacts under different circumstances. But that type of knowledge helps you to be able to cater for their needs. Now, I'm not saying that now it's healthy that when somebody is angry, they throw things around or pull things around or break windows. Of course, there are boundaries. There are things that are very unhealthy that do need outside intervention. But I'm just trying to say there are people that when they go through things, maybe they don't want to interact much with people because they want to deal with that problem and sort it out by themselves. And then there are people that when they are going through something, they want to be with people. They want a different environment. They want a happy environment. It doesn't solve the problem, but it makes them feel good about themselves. And so it's very important to study these things. For instance, in my house, I know that when one of us is not okay, they want a good meal. They want to come home to a good meal. And for them, that is important. I prefer, when I'm not too good, to have time alone to process what is going on and so forth. So people are not the same in the way they handle pressure, in the way they handle pain, in the way they handle frustration. Be a student of your spouse. As we highlighted through our know the contents of this, of what is within your spouse, how they are raised, their reaction towards things, and the understanding of the content of your spouse or of your marriage or whatever helps you now maneuver and find your way around it. Marriage is work, and people really in our generation have to be taught that you will never really find a ready product. Everybody's from somewhere. We all have residue from somewhere in our past, from the things that we've gone through. And so if you're going to make it work, just like your career, just like your business, just like anything else that you work towards, marriage does need your attention and your effort. If you are putting effort in your career, if you are putting effort into advancing your life financially, whether it's business, whatever, marriage needs the same effort. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And just like you meet hiccups in business, you will meet hiccups in marriage. The hiccups in marriage shouldn't be treated like they cannot be solved. It's hiccups that can be solved through communication and understanding. Okay, then the last point, this is the deeper understanding that I want to have. We need to know within our marriages what is within our power to do. That is the understanding that we need. And what is not within our power to do. And I know this is one of the biggest reasons why marriages are failing. It's because we are trying to solve issues sometimes that only God can solve. And sometimes we are putting pressure on our spouse to change things. And that change can only come through what God can do in the life of that spouse. And I remember hearing an example one day when I was listening to one man speaking, and he was saying, when a car has a problem, you can take it to any dealership to service, to change tires, to do whatever. But when the car hits the engine or something more serious happens to it, you now have to take that car to the manufacturer, and that manufacturer is God. And it's very, very important. I think this is one of the things that I've learned personally, even in my own journey of 12 years in marriage, that there are things that you can do something about, then there are things that you cannot do anything about, that only God can take over and solve. And remember, when God takes over to solve those issues, it is also the party that you are with. He needs or she needs to have a responsibility of opening up to God for God to make those changes. And so, just to highlight, I know people are from different backgrounds. Some are from really traumatic experiences like rape, like emotional abuse within the family, like domestic violence. There are a lot of things that happen in a lot of households. And so somebody gets married and they find themselves still dealing with some issues from their past. Some might be Christian, tongue speaking, loving God, but wrestling with some of the things that happened in their past. And those are the issues that now God begins to deal with in a human life, so long as they have a spouse who can dedicate them to God and pray to God for those changes. Because what ends up happening within marriages is that people are expected to now compensate, or spouses are expected to now compensate for something that happened in your past and that they were not part of. And when a spouse feels like they are not meeting your needs, they feel inferior in their role, not knowing that your needs go deeper emotionally. You actually need healing. You don't need attention, you just need healing, because there's a certain level of attention that is healthy. But if you're now demanding attention on a level that suffocates your spouse, it means now that issue has to be dealt with by God, and that is God's jurisdiction. It is no longer a jurisdiction of human effort or human knowledge. I hope that last point made sense. You need an understanding to know what is within your power to do and what is within God's jurisdiction. Something that you cannot heal, something that you cannot solve, but only God himself can solve it. And so I do want to say, as I am about to close this video, to say that marriage is a possibility, and sometimes we need to open ourselves up to knowledge. We need to be open to unlearning things that are not working for our marriages, and actually put in effort. So 4 areas of understanding. You need to understand that different backgrounds, they result in different behavioral patterns. Number 2, we need to understand the male and female differences in processing things and processing emotions and situations. We need to understand how our spouses respond under pressure, pain, or frustration, so that we can be able to be there for them and take care of them at the times when they feel down. And also we need to know what is within our power to do and what is within God's power to do within the life of your spouse or the life of your marriage. And so I would like to say, as I close, that it's very important within a marriage to know that none of us are finished products. We are all works in progress. I often say, when I talk to my friends or anybody that I'm interacting with, I usually say that the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing, but a good thing can still be better, and a better thing can still be the best, with a little bit of patience, a little bit of grace, a little bit of understanding, and a little bit of love. And so sometimes we give up in marriages too quickly, but if we were to dig in that mine, we would find that there are diamonds, that there's gold, there is so much that is within the depths of the person that you have married to, but you will not get to access that, because you need to have the wisdom to understand that there are things that a person is working through. Every diamond is not a diamond just without a process. So a person works through issues for you to find the treasure in that person. So for those who are in marriages that are struggling, I do encourage you to dig deeper to find understanding for some of the things that are happening in your marriage. And sometimes with understanding comes a lot of grace, with understanding comes a lot of patience, and so marriage becomes doable. So thank you so much for listening to today's broadcast. I do hope that you gained one or two things. And as I requested earlier, please do share the broadcast, like this broadcast, and give your input and feedback. It would be very nice to hear from you. And I cannot wait for our next video. Till next time.